welcome back to another episode of Jujutsu Kaisen Watch Along Pod. On this episode, we are covering only one episode of the season now. We're on a new format. So we're going to do episode 22, The Origin of Blind Obedience, from season 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm here with my co-host DK. What's up, brother?
What's up? And this is Kevin Ketcham, aka the NerdyJock. We're in a new story now. This is a mystery that is being established from the very beginning, which will permeate through the next 3 episodes.
Right. They have been building this whole 3-episode arc up since basically the beginning, right?
Yeah, and like you said in our previous episode of the pod, it's a little bit similar to the juvenile detention arc that we saw earlier,
Exactly.
the cursed womb arc.
And speaking of our previous pod, make sure to follow us on all of our social medias on X, Twitter, watch us online or listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course, our home is YouTube. So like and subscribe and catch us there first.
Yep.
Right.
Awesome. Let's jump in.
Jump back in. So we were talking about the cursed womb. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, it's pretty similar to that. We have this mystery where people are being murdered in a similar fashion where automatic doors aren't working.
Right.
And then they, I guess, are uniformly complaining about them, or as they cross the threshold into their home, they appear to be being stabbed to death.
Exactly. And then they die.
Yes.
So it is kind of cool that in this episode, they do at least, they start by they have an investigation. You know, they set up a little plot.
Right.
They're driving the car with
Nita
Akari.
Arata, or is it
Akari?
Is it Akari? Oh, okay.
Akari. Shinji Akari.
Nita Akari. Yeah, I don't know why I wrote Aruta.
Now, she's she's like the auxiliary manager for the Jujutsu High, and she just drives the first years around, basically. She's chauffeurs, a lot like the guy with the glasses.
She's like a more upbeat version of Ikiji at this point.
Yeah.
So we've got this. 3 people are dead at the beginning, but then as the investigation continues, we have a 4th person that dies, but this person didn't have an automatic door.
Exactly.
They're going to go visit this person because he's an acquaintance of one of the other people that died, which is part of the mystery that these people who are dying all have a connection to each other, meaning they all maybe did something.
Right.
Together that is leading them to die. But yeah, this person didn't have an automatic door, but still ended up dying anyway.
Interesting. What could have happened?
Right. And we take a little trip to Megumi's middle school.
Yeah, we're going a little throwback. So we're from high school back to middle school, not too long ago, evidently. Only a couple years for him.
Right.
Yeah.
And it turns out, we see a couple of bullies. The Nobara's like, hey, look at these punks. Let's beat some information out of them.
She's such a violent person. Like, I do not get her nature. She's actually not... I get her because she's Asuka. She's actually exactly Asuka Langley Soria.
I don't know. I don't
think so anymore.
I don't think so anymore. No, but she's definitely a sociopath.
She's a sociopath,
which I like. She's super funny. She's like, yeah, like look at these punks. Let's beat them up. The punks recognize Megumi. Megumi used to beat them up.
Right.
And he's like, oh, Megumi used to beat all of us punks up back in the day.
Yeah. And these 2 punks, these 2 guys that they're talking to here are kind of, they're there for laughs, obviously, but they look like they're like 30. They all, they got to get their character designs a little bit.
As all anime punks should.
They all look like they're 30 years old. Anyways.
Just look like, so we're setting up this mystery and we're finding out that there's a connection between this middle school and this place called Yasuhachi Bridge, which is a place where kids go and they bungee jump off of.
That's kind of ballsy too, by the way. But
yeah.
Bungee jumping for a high schooler? Like what?
For middle schoolers.
No, sorry. Yeah, middle schoolers bungee jumping without like adult supervision.
It seems with like improvised, cords and something, no safety. I mean, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. We're setting up this mystery. We're being told about the significance of the history of this this bridge and stuff like that. Meanwhile, we now are getting a little bit of an extra look into something that has been set up earlier. When Megumi was fighting Sukuna, he was thinking about a girl that was cursed. It turns out this girl, Tsukimi, is his older sister, or so he says.
Yeah, or we do find out that she is not blood related, but she could be potentially like a stepsister.
Right. We find that out a little bit later. He's kind of he's burying the lead a lot. Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, she's my sister. Oh yeah, she's fine. There's definitely, he's hiding something. It's a little bit obvious, and
because she was involved as well. So Sumiki was involved with the whole Yasuhachi Bridge situation as well.
Right.
Right.
And then of course Mahito and Geto feed one of the cursed wombs to some random crucified dude.
Scary.
Yeah.
Sick.
And like he transforms into whatever the cursed spirit of that womb is. And I think one of my favorite parts of this episode was the thing that happens next where because they're really just messing with Nita here. Like they're like messing with her. Like they stand on the bridge all night, all day. Nothing happens. They meet at a konbini after, and she's like, "Oh, maybe like it's the act of jumping that triggers the curse thing." And then Megumi's like, "Nah, Yuji tried that."
Tried it. And he pulls this cord that looks nothing. It looks like a kite cord. I mean, it's like a thin piece of rope.
It's just like a normal acrylic cord, and there's like a funny little animated sequence where Megumi and Nobara wrap him up in this cord and just throw him off the bridge to see what happens.
That would have been cool to see. But knowing Yuji, he probably could have just jumped off the bridge and been fine regardless. But maybe you have to bungee jump and like do some kind of weird voodoo kind of stuff to make it work or not.
Right.
I don't know.
But there's a ton of information in this episode. I mean, if it sounds like we're just breathing through and just giving the beats, or like just blasting through, just giving the beats, I mean, that's how this episode is. It's just blasting you with info, setting up this mystery. One of the punks has an older sister that knows Megumi because she was friends with Tsukimi and all that stuff. And there's somebody named Morishita that died or something like that. And, and she's worried that she's going to die because obviously everybody who went to this place is now starting to die. Dun, dun, dun. And she might be like a window where she can sense curse energy in her doorway every other night. And so she doesn't want to go home because she senses it there.
Might be too late for her, though.
It might be too late. It might be too late. Nita even mentions like, oh, we need to save this girl, and she tells her this elaborate lie. It's like, oh no, I'm a college student. I'm writing a report about how electric malfunctions are caused by ghosts or something like that, and these people are just helping me. Yeah, so there's just a lot of information. We're setting up this mystery of this place because we know eventually we're going to get to the crew going to this place and finding the curse, which is eventually what happens. Right. Everything aside, they go there. There's like this little thing where it's like, oh, it's the act of crossing the river, which is symbolic of stepping into the land of the dead that triggers the innate domain of the curse that's, killing everybody on the bridge. And then they get sucked into the domain.
Yeah, similar. Well, no, they do actually. But they step over, similar to the Ghostbusters stepping into the refrigerator in Ghostbusters 1, and then you're in their domain. So they knew it. They felt it. You could see the kind of energy surge and go over there, and they're in the whack-a-mole domain. Right. What they call it too.
The whack-a-mole domain, yeah. And but before Megumi tried to get Yuji and Nobara to go home, because we find out that actually Tsukimi was cursed by the bridge. She's bedridden, and now he's worried that she's going to die because he has deduced that whatever this curse is, it's marking people and then killing them from within. Right. So it's not the way it was. It led us to believe at the beginning of the episode where they're dying because the curse is killing them after a certain point. It's literally the curse is within them and it's killing them from without. So he's got to solve this quickly before she dies. He dismisses them. They show up again. They all cross into whack-a-mole domain. And that's pretty much
the episode.
That's the episode. This is a quick one, guys.
Yeah, this is a super quick episode.
Yeah.
I mean, we just blew through that in like 10 minutes or 12 minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, any other important points to make in this episode? I mean, we get a little bit of exposition about like Megumi and his relationship with his sister, but it's not anything you haven't heard a million times already, or why he protects people, or why he doesn't protect people. His own righteous feeling or not somewhat righteous feeling of only protecting the people he really wants to protect. Yeah, and I think it's in this episode where he makes he has a realization that Tsukimi gave him crap a lot because she actually cared about him and wanted to protect him. So he feels a responsibility that he has to do something about it.
It might be in the next episode. Okay, it might be in this one, but I think overall, the first time I watched these through, because I watched them a second time to take notes, but the first time, it was kind of a slog. This time it was a little bit more interesting. I was a little bit more into the mystery. I was like, okay, because I knew what was coming. But the first time I was disappointed that, again, we're just kind of resetting the story after nothing happened, basically. Yeah. I mean, well, you can say, oh, well, it's not that nothing happened. Hanami was a distraction so that Mahito could steal the fingers and the wombs and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, I get it, but I just mean, like, overall in the story, like, I'm very, very lukewarm about Jujutsu Kaisen season 1 so far.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point you're making, because in this episode itself, there are, you said lukewarm. There are a lot of dead ends in their investigation.
Yeah.
Like, at least if you're going to do a mystery episode or an investigative episode, we need to, like, come onto some clues or find some more back details, or maybe find something under the bridge that it's a strong connection, but really it was just a series of, like, oh, let's talk to this professor from the middle school. Let's talk to these 2 guys, and let's talk to her. And by talking to those 3 people in a matter of, like, 10 minutes.
And then Megumi has an inner monologue.
Yeah,
where, like,
long, outdrawn. I'm tired of his monologues, guys. Like, it drives me crazy, dude. Like, I honestly, I don't even like Megumi's character, man. Like, real talk, sorry guys, but this guy is just annoying at this point.
Yeah, you know what?
I'm like, I get it. You don't want to make friends with people. Whatever. That's why Toto and Yuji are awesome, because they're cool and they have good conversations.
I'm with you. Fushiguro Megumi sucks.
Not cool, guys.
Not a good character.
Not a fun character at all.
He's a Sasuke wannabe. Yeah. He's not nearly as interesting as Sasuke. At least so far. I mean, like all the things that make him interesting are things that we're beaten over the head with, and it doesn't make me care about him whatsoever.
Look, here's the biggest key point we need to make in anime, which we've talked a few times about this before in the past, but you can't have character growth by an inner monologue exposition. You really can't. Because unless he come, like, in the next episode, he does figure that, oh, Tsukimi, whatever her name is, Tsukimi, she tries to protect him by being a dick to him. But, like, that's the only thing he really realizes in one moment. But he has about 10 different, like, inner monologues where, if you're a viewer of the show and you're watching this, we don't really get anything out from him working out his feelings in his head, which aren't even feelings. They're just, like, statements. They're thoughts. It's not like, hey, I wonder this, or I do this. It's just very much like, oh, I do this because of this, I do this because of this, and this is who I am because of this.
And Jujutsu Kaisen doesn't know whether he's a good person or an asshole, because he is both simultaneously all the time. I mean, like, you can use other examples of stoic characters from anime. Like, you could use Sasuke. Sasuke picks a lane. It's like, I don't like Naruto. It's like, that's my lane. I'm going to be the strongest because I have to kill my brother Itachi.
Right.
You have the character, I forget his name, I love him, the top-knot dude from Chainsaw Man. His name is escaping me right now, but he's a stoic character, but you get his perspective too. He kind of picks a lane. It's like, Megumi is like, oh, I'm avoiding, I'm too cool for school, but no, we should save Yuji. Or no, I just save people indiscriminately because I want them. I bully bullies. Yeah. I hate my sister, but I want to save her. It's just like, yeah, just pick a lane. Like, he's too many things. And Sukuna is like, oh, I'm really, really hyped on this guy who has so far only used Shikigami and will continue. I mean, because we've seen through the end of season 1 now, and he does have a little bit of something in the next episode that happens, or maybe it's the episode after.
Which is some cool moments in the next one.
Which is cool, but it's also kind of like, I don't know, it's just not enough. I can't put my finger on exactly why I don't like this character, but I mean, he's just not connecting.
He's not connecting.
It's like these whole episodes, maybe the editors at Shonen Jump were like, okay, Akutami, you really need to spend some time developing this guy, because there's all this mystery and people are writing in going like, okay, but like, what's the deal with that girl? What's this? And then the solution is like, okay, well, let's just tell his backstory. But, which is fine. Like, I don't mind a backstory, but like, it's a pacing issue too, because backstory eats up a lot of runtime. But so does a mystery where you're going place to place, like talking to this person, talking to the teacher, talking to the girl, talking to this, exploring jumping off the bridge, exploring crossing the river. Like, everything just feels so compacted.
Hold on, slow down here. Okay.
Yeah.
You're off. Wait, hold on. Let me
go ahead.
For 1 second. So what you're saying is great points. But I just needed to interject for a second here, because like we're talking about the Megumi, we're talking about, you just mentioned investigation. It's important that, like, if during this investigation, maybe they found talisman or something from the past, or something that had an intimate connection to Megumi. Right? But there's no real connections there besides, oh, I remember my sister, or I remember this. But like, it's not like there needs to be tangible, like something that triggers his emotion, And even if you're not going to do it that way, anytime Yuji or Nobara are talking about Megumi, it's always joking in jest. It's like, oh, I didn't know this about you, or that's not right. That couldn't be you. You have a sister.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm like,
it's all like cutesy and
which can be fun. But if you want us to start having more in-depth like feelings and emotions and desires to love this character, the conversations between them has to be a little more serious too sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just too, his whole character is cutesy wootsy, but he's supposed to be Sukuna's like best guy now coming up. I don't know.
I mean, he's just all over the place. Like I mean, maybe it gets better as it goes, you know, like maybe it does. But yeah, I don't know. At this moment in this episode, not working for me.
Yeah. I mean, and one thing that I do find frustrating, that I'm just going to say one more thing. And by the way, I actually enjoyed this episode. It wasn't, I'd say it's like C plus, like low B, maybe not even that. Probably like a
I don't hate this show.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm lukewarm about it.
Yeah.
It's like I want to love it because there's so much love. I want to join in the excitement that you out there feel.
Right.
That it's like, this is your favorite anime. Like, these are your favorite characters, whatever. Like, I want to feel that. Like, I want to be a part of that in some way. And but
we're just heartless, Dan.
Yeah. I mean, but I will say, for everything that I said, second watch through of this episode, I didn't hate it. I was a little bit more into the mystery because I knew what was coming. But the first time I was just so disappointed because I was just reeling from the fact that it's like, oh, well, the Kyoto Sister School exchange event was just completely pointless. It was just to do the Hanami thing, and that's it.
And one thing JJK does that's great, which I think is kind of a plot cop-out, is like when you think about this episode, if you guys are rewatching it with us and you've seen episode 22 again, you watch it, probably your favorite moment from this episode is the last scenes when they start facing off against the cursed spirits, right?
Right.
It's probably the most exciting part. So if you and unfortunately that 2 minutes they put at the very end, it got you super excited, but it's really just a teaser for the next episode. So if you cut that last 2 minutes out where they cross over under the bridge into the domain of the cursed spirit, then if you cut that out and you have the other 18 minutes of the episode, you're really not left with much there to chew on.
No.
Exactly. So like that, but they're very good at this. They do this a lot. They'll put this amazing action sequence or something that's really going to get you hyped for the next episode, and that's pretty much what your mind is left with. So you think, oh wow, that was a great episode,
right?
Until you look at it and you say, oh well, actually it was mid. It was like, okay, the last scene was cool, but that's what you remember the most because it was the last part of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, even characters that are more developed, like Yuji and Nobara, it feels like the energy is kind of being drained away from them because they're not doing anything substantial at all. They're just kind of there being cutesy the entire time, or they're solving every problem instantaneously that comes their way. Yeah, so anyway, we don't have to talk too much about that. That's episode 22, The Origin of Blind Obedience. Join us next week or later this week when we cover the next episode, which is episode 23, The Origin of Blind Obedience
Part 2. All right, see you next time.
Like and subscribe.
All right.